Today we're going to take a look at creating email distribution list in Outlook. So you're going to start off in Power Teacher Pro. You're going to go to Reports, Student Roster. From there, you want to make sure you have the correct class chosen. You probably want to do this by block and do an individual report for every block. So you'll have a different distribution list for every block. However, I have the same prep and I only have a few students. So I'm actually going to do this for all of my classes. And you can do that if you want to and have one distribution list for every single kid in all of your classes. That's up to you. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to make sure that I have student name chosen and ID number. If you don't have those, you can add those here. I also have contact name and contact email. This would be parent and guardian. I don't recommend doing this, but I'm going to do it in this report just for the purpose of showing you what it looks like and what your options are. You want to scroll back to the top, make sure your format is set to Excel and not PDF, and then you can run your report. I'm going to go to View Reports and download this report. So when your form is opened, this is what it's going to look like. Now, I did edit this for privacy. You would have actual student names here, actual student IDs, names for the parent and guardians, and then actual email addresses. But I just wanted to show you what this would look like if you download the contact information. This downloads contact information for everyone that student has listed in PowerSchool. So you don't need all this information. So if you're creating a contact list with parent and guardian emails, you would have to do a little extra work. You would have to go in, you would want to delete like grandparents, aunts, uncles, other, and you would have to kind of play around with this data. So for the sake of time, I'm going to delete these two, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like. You can add parent contacts in there. You're just going to have to play around with that data a little bit. So if I had not downloaded the parent and guardian information, this is what my spreadsheet would look like. Again, you would have real student names and real ID numbers. I just made some information up, but you're going to have names and IDs. And then you're going to need to manually add in a column for domain and a column for email. Under the domain column, you want to add student.ucps.k12.nc.us. And then under email, you're going to have to add a formula. So you're going to do the equal sign. And then I chose B2 because that's where my first student ID number is. And then quotation mark, at quotation mark, because I want to add an at symbol in there. And then and D2 because that's where my domain name is. When I hit enter, it's going to populate that student email address for me. So it just merged these two cells together. Now I don't have to do this for every one. Now I can just drag and drop using that little square in the corner here. I can click on this one, drag and drop, and it's going to copy that formula over. So now it's got that unique email address on there for each of those students. So from here, I now need to save this. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, because I have to save it as a certain file type. I'm going to choose where I want to save it, and then I'm going to name this report. So I'm going to name this 2021, and I'm going to name it as Media Literacy 2 just because I already have one. You may also want to name it like Block 1, Block 2, whatever block you're working on. But you need to change where it says Excel Workbook. You need to change this to CSV, comma, delimited. So I'm going to choose that and save this file. It's going to say, do you want to save it? Yes. And then I can close this and it's going to ask me again, do you want to save it? Yes, I want to save it. I want to replace what's there. I'm just going to click through. So next, I'm going to open up my Outlook app. These directions are for Outlook app, not for webmail. So once I'm here, I'm going to click on my little people symbol down at the bottom, and I now have all my contacts listed. So I'm going to right click on contacts and do new folder. And you can name this Block 1, Block 2, whatever you want to name it. Again, I'm going to do 2021 Fall Media Literacy. Click OK. So now I have a folder down here. So now I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Open and Export, Import, Export. And I'm going to import from another program or file. I'm going to click Next. I am doing comma separated values, so I'm going to click Next, and I'm going to browse for my document. So I saved mine on my desktop. So I'm going to open that up. I do allow for duplicates only because if you were to have siblings and you're putting parent email addresses in here, you want to make sure that you have a contact for each student. It just keeps your records clean. So I would allow for duplicates. I'm going to click Next. So next I'm going to choose the folder that I want it to go into. So I do want it to go into that 2021 Fall Media Literacy folder. I'm going to click Next. So you can see that it's going to import here, and then I want to go to Map Custom Fields. And it should already show the name on there. So those are good to go. I don't really care about ID and domain because I just use those to build the email, but I do want to scroll down and find email. And I want to drag and drop email on that so it connects those two things. And then I'm going to click OK and then finish. So now when I click on the Fall Media Literacy folder, I have my students here. And again, I would have real information. I would have their actual names, not just student 1, 2, and 3. But because that's what I had on my spreadsheet, that's what it put. And I would have their email addresses. And again, if I had the parents' email addresses and things, I could have that information there as well.